Happy first day of spring.
Happy
Finally.
birthday, spring. I'm so glad spring is here. But it brings with it allergies. And they've been kicking my ass. So I see you got your cheers to spring.
Cheers to spring. It's funny because you're usually the red wine drinker and I switched.
That is crazy. Well, this is a mimosa. But yes, I am the red wine drinker. So and
Well, I was out of Moscato, so I was like, and today is a wine day for sure. One, celebrating spring, and two, just it's been a week. It has been a week. But Brienne gave me this past weekend when I went by her house this I don't know if I can do it. It was a Christmas wine. She meant to give it to me over Christmas, but forgot.
I see
And
it.
one of the things I don't
Is it
like,
mulled wine?
no, it's just a red wine. It's got a wonderful smell, an absolutely amazing smell. This probably would make a good mulled wine,
Hmm.
but I can smell. Oh, it does smell really good. It's some spice to it, which cinnamon.
You're so cute. You're like, you just took a sip and you're like, it does smell really good instead of taste really good.
Well, because I was smelling it as it was coming up.
Okay. Okay.
I especially a new wine, I always smelling the wine.
Yeah,
And
there's
I'm
nothing wrong with that.
definitely, are you, when it comes to your senses, well, I know you're super sensitive to smell, but what
Hmm.
is more attractive isn't the word, but like your biggest favorite sense that you have? Like, is it smell? Is it taste? Is it touch? Is it visual? What would be yours?
Well, my all of my senses are heightened. So, but it's a blessing and a curse. But I don't really know which sense. I mean, I guess my sense of smell makes me more aware of things more quickly than others. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'll be the first one to smell if something's burning, or I'll be the first one to smell if something like is chemically or something like that.
Right.
So that may be kind of a superpower.
For me, smell is a huge like trigger for senses. Like it kicks things in. I get that activates, I guess, memories or some type of relation to it.
I was just saying yesterday we were making what were we making? Oh, we use cornflakes as a breading. Have you ever used that crushed up
Yes,
cornflakes?
I
So
was come from a low income. We absolutely use cornflakes for
as
everything.
like breadcrumbs and stuff. I didn't know it was because we were poor, but in my it's all making a lot of sense now. But anywho, so when I was crushing up these cornflakes to make the breading for the chicken, it instantly reminded me of my mom, and she would use corn should use the cornflakes crushed up on homemade mac and cheese and like drizzle butter
Yes.
on it. And it was so lovely. And I was like, isn't that crazy how all these years later, and I don't ever eat cornflakes. I don't
Right.
really, you know what I mean? So the fact that I was helping Alex with the meal and the prep, it just I was like, isn't that crazy how a scent that decades later can trigger a memory, a core memory of your childhood and stuff. So I do think scents are really cool. And music does the same thing for me. If
I
I
was
hear a
just about to
song,
say, yep, it would be a song or a smell that will trigger an emotion more than
yeah,
a
is that
touch
not
or visual
wild?
or taste.
Yeah, that's pretty complex, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but absolutely a song can trigger back a memory from childhood or a memory from just every day. But it is definitely emotional. It gives you feelings of
Right.
some sort of way.
Either good or bad, because I've had some
Correct.
songs where I'm like, I remember when this was a shitty time, especially
Mm,
like breakup songs or something like that.
yeah.
What was your first breakup song that you remember?
Probably End of the Road by Boys. Was that Boys to Men?
It
And
was Boys to Men.
yeah,
Yeah.
I cried. I'd had that on perpetual loop, and I cried and cried and cried.
Yeah.
So there were no more tears to cry.
I don't remember the name of the album that it was, but that
I don't.
entire CD was just like one that I played on a loop.
That was
Uh,
the only one I really listened. I mean, I know I listened to that album, but that song, and then after I listened to it so many times, and it was such a like a. I was just like, I'm over it. I can't listen to this anymore. And so
that's a good, like you brought back some memory. Boys to Men was the thing. Like I loved them. We're gonna have to play them when we're doing like office work and stuff. Just have that should be our. We'll have to have like we need to create a little soundtrack for when we're working and stuff.
Yes, perhaps we should add
But that's
that to the
funny.
many, 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 many things that we have
Yeah,
to
when
do.
we're not recording because we can't afford their put them on our show. But okay. All right. So happy spring. What are we talking about today?
Happy spring. So, with that being said, this time of year, this time of year is around spring break, and a lot of people are doing spring break. So, we thought we would keep it a little bit lighter this week and do Am I the Asshole Spring Break Edition.
Yeah, which kind of goes really well with what our previous couple episodes we talked about spring break trips as adults now that we don't our kids are pretty much grown, and then we
Yeah.
talked about group travel. So how did you find looking for the topics like the Am I the Asshole episode? Because I love Reddit, and I feel like you're finally getting my reason why I love Reddit because you actually brought it up. You're like, I was on Reddit, I was looking for this. I
Well,
was like,
so
proud of you.
so we were talking about we're always constantly brainstorming what next?
Upcoming
What can we do next?
episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it is hard coming up with weekly topics.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, it's around spring break and we haven't done Am I the Asshole lately. So let's do it. Let's look it up. Whoa, you just disappeared on me,
I
honey.
know. Sorry, I had to turn the heater off because I forgot to.
Hence the green screen background.
Oh shoot, I forgot about that.
No worries.
Well,
It's
for our
like a
listeners, if you want to go see that faux pas, go look at our YouTube video.
She disappeared. The one where she disappeared.
I know. I forget sometimes we're recording a video as well.
No worries. I thought it was funny. Um, but yeah, so I just totally lost my train of thought
I'm
because
so sorry.
you were just
We were
there.
talking about going down Reddit. You were searching and we came
Oh,
up with
right,
a
right.
topic.
So I
So
just
now,
thought it was a
yeah.
good topic. But yes, so that is what we shall do. Do you want to go first or do you want me to read my story first? What are you thinking?
I'll go ahead and go first because this actually wasn't even my first one that I found, but it was the one I moved to the top of the pile
All right.
because I was curious how it was going to go. So I'm just going to read the title and you tell me your opinions just off the title and then we'll dive
Oh,
into the actual. So, am
okay.
I the asshole for asking my wife to do more domestic duties while she's on spring break?
You want to know my feelings?
Again, listeners, go watch the video because her face.
um, I'm gonna initially go with yes. I think you're an asshole if you expect your wife to do extra duties because the whole point of a vacation is for everybody to have the vacation, right?
Yes,
So, and my first initial response is, yeah, you are.
right? Okay, so here's the rest of it, and then let's see what you think after that. And this is one of the things I love. They start out saying, "Hi, sorry, this is random throwaway," which I love because they're going to spill something if they're not even using their real account.
Oh,
This is actually a pretty basic problem that doesn't need much explanation, I don't think. My wife is a teacher. I am a tech knowledge worker who works from home. Since I'm around here, and because teaching is very stressful job, I pick a lot of the stuff up. I pick a lot of the cruft up in the house. I didn't know what that word meant, but okay. I do a lot of cooking, cleaning, and laundry. My wife is on spring break, so I asked her to share that burden a little extra. My work has been picking up a little too. She says that breaks are for relaxing and that she deserves some downtime. I said that functionally that means I will forever take on an extra share of chores. Either she's teaching or she's on break, both of which mean I should shoulder a disproportionate load. She's doing extra. She is doing the extra, but she's mad at me. Am I the asshole?
okay. Well, based on the title, it's not really, they're not on spring break together. And
Right.
she's being asked to shoulder the chores while they're on vacation. So that's initially what I thought. That being said, it's a little more complicated because I feel like anytime you feel overwhelmed, and if she's not working, and I get it, if she's not working, um, and she's on break, but I think in that scenario, I would be willing to help up if I'm just home anyway and I'm on spring break. I'd be willing to step in and help out with the chores if my partner said, "Hey, I'm struggling here." Um, so
Is he
I
the
don't
asshole for asking her to do
I
that?
don't think he is. I don't think he is,
I agree.
personally.
I don't think so either. Because, and I will say the what drew me into this was the title, because that's a given right there. Um,
Yeah,
as the one who has done most of the domestic duties, and then when we go
correct.
on trips and all that,
That's why you got the initial eye roll and yeah, I
yes,
do
I
think
knew
he's the
exactly what
asshole.
you were thinking when I
Yeah.
was going to read that title. However, that's a really good, and I thought it was an interesting switch of the typical roles of who the home caretaker is.
Well,
It,
then I have to wonder this too, because teachers typically have the summer off where they're not teaching. So is she just on break the whole summer and not wanting to help out and step up then? Because then this becomes kind of an issue overall.
like he
Because
said, he'll always be the one picking, which, and I will say this, as moms, we typically do that, which is why I kind of was like, and you originally had your eye roll moment, because yeah, we don't usually vacations when our kids are little or when we're
it's not a
traveling as a
vacation
family,
for
it's
us.
not a vacation. So I was like, okay. However, when someone's working full time and they have a break, they deserve a break also. So it seems like they need while he's not the asshole for asking for a break on his end,
Right.
it's time for them to have that
I
conversation.
think there needs to be a conversation.
Yeah, of like, hey, you take these first couple days or the last couple days and make that your break, or take every other day, but let's make a plan where you can take a little bit off of my plate, so it's kind of a little bit more balanced, but you're still getting a well-deserved break. Because when is his
Yeah.
break? And we ask that ourselves as mom, when is our break? If I'm doing all the stuff at home,
Right.
I'm doing all the stuff on the vacations or on
And
my
it
break.
does come back to you can't pour from an empty cup, so he's
Yes.
saying I'm struggling, I need help. And I think that's amazing because a lot of times, and I'm not saying men, but I'm just saying
Right.
sometimes they don't like to ask for help. So
Right.
the fact that he is communicating and saying I need help, I would absolutely be willing to help him if that was my
I
partner.
loved what you said before you even really kind of dove into it, was like, hey, the first thing you acknowledged was my partner, regardless of their gender or the stereotypical roles, my partner's asking for help.
Correct.
That's what you heard, was my
Mm-hmm.
partner was asking for help. And I think that's really the thing right there, is he's asking for help, regardless of what the timing is, as he's like, hey, you're gonna be home all day, and that can cause resentment. If they don't have that conversation, that can lead to resentment. So I agree with you. I don't think he's the asshole. Um, I could see she's not the asshole for being frustrated either, because we kind of sometimes have an assumption of what our time off will be. And it's okay to have that moment of selfishness or self boundaries, or whatever you want
Right.
to call it. But then you got to look at the whole picture. Who else is relying on me, and who else am I?
Well, and they didn't go into a lot of details as to how many children they have and what all they're picking up but correct. It sounds like they need to have a communication down the road of how it's going to what expectations are going forward, because it sounds like he's struggling, he's asking for help. And God
Yeah.
bless her, she's a teacher. She has one of the most difficult jobs in the
Oh, I
world.
know.
So she does deserve downtime, but it just has to be an open communication and a conversation of what the expectations are on these trips. And I don't think either one of them are the asshole, but I think they have to work it out and openly, have a conversation about it. So
Yeah, I agree. But I thought that was interesting when the key thing to anyone posting on Reddit, or anywhere, that attention grabbing headline. It can be misleading, but it's if the clickbait,
if it
whatever you want to
draws you
call
in,
it.
right?
I
Yeah.
totally clicked on that because I was like, dude, you're asking your wife to be more domestic. And I was completely off base on the content or
Yeah,
context.
yeah, yeah. The lead in is very deceptive,
I
but I
but
I
it
like
got me
it.
in. I
Yeah, it
clicked.
worked. Okay, so
Okay, your turn.
mine is, am I the asshole for not letting my 15-year-old daughter go to spring break with her friends? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the backstory. I have a 15-year-old daughter, a 13-year-old son, and a 12-year-old daughter. Our spring breaks tends to be very low key, nature oriented. We live in Oregon, so the weather isn't the fun in the sun type.
Mm-hmm.
So this spring break, we're booked for the natural hot springs area with some hiking and whatnot planned. My 15-year-old loves this sort. Initially has loved this sort of thing, but this time she has asked to go with her friends. So she said we already paid for her spot, but there's enough time to get the money back if she doesn't come and it's just the four of us. The trip wouldn't be the same without her though. What she wants to do instead is her friend invited her to San Diego for 5 days to stay in a hotel and visit beaches. Attending the trip would be 3 other girls their age and 2 moms on a girls' getaway beach trip. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, important information to know. We've spoken to one of the moms a number of occasions. The other mom, we do not know at all. We know one of the girls well. The other girl we've met a couple times, and the third girl is a newer friend to our daughter. While we're at the nature resort, we will not have access to cell phone connection for emergencies. We would have it when we're off the biking trails, which doesn't make sense. Wouldn't it be at the resort and not on the trails? But that's neither here nor there.
Unless they were camping, I guess. Yeah. Okay, but I got you.
So this is an important part. The flight and hotel are paid for, but our daughter would be responsible to pay her own way for meals and food. She's saved about $500 from allowance, babysitting, taking care, yada, yada, yada. She saved about $500. We have a good, trusting relationship with our daughter, and she talks to us about everything, including romantic relationship stuff, pressure to party, whatever. I told her I don't think I'll feel comfortable with her bailing on the family vacation time and flying out of state with people we don't know well. She thinks I'm being unfair because she's always been responsible and made good life choices. So she shouldn't be denied her first real spring break. Her mom's viewpoint is that she's nervous about the daughter being in a bikini on a beach around a bunch of guys at 15 and ending up on the evening news for something that happens while we're blissfully enjoying our spring break unaware. She said she couldn't enjoy our spring break if our daughter goes away and is out of contact. Am I the asshole for not letting my 15-year-old daughter do what she wants?
I'm going to say yes. I think the mom's being an asshole here because as you're going through, I was thinking of the questions because I have 2 daughters. So I was trying to figure out. And the other thing is, we are like 90s kids. So we ran feral. And I'm thinking how many times I went off. But with the communication and all of that, you get used to having instant communication with your kids. But that's a crutch. That's not a skill. She trusted her daughter. They have open communication. So as a parent, if you're doing your job and you're confident in your parenting skills and your parenting philosophies and things like that.
This is a complicated one because
I would have let my kid go.
You would not.
I would. Absolutely. I would.
You would have. Okay. That's what I
100%.
thought.
Yeah. She would go. We'd have some things set up, even if I was out of reach, because I've gone where my kids have not been able to get a hold of me. They have a backup. They have another mom. I mean, their dad works weird hours, so he's not
Right.
always the most reliable. And
we raise a village, so one of the other sister moms would be there.
Absolutely. So they would know, or if you're near family, they would have someone else to contact besides me. And this was a point for me with that mom. The mom said she would not be able to enjoy her trip because her daughter was out of her range.
A little
That's
selfish,
a mom problem.
Right? Yeah.
That's not a kid problem.
I understand. I understand the concept of, listen, helicopter mom here. I understand the concept of not wanting your 15-year-old to be on a separate trip away from the family. The biggest thing is, okay, I understand if you want to say no because you don't know the other mom at all and you only know this mom. So if there's what, 4 girls and 2 moms and you don't even know one of the moms. So for me, if it was like, I need to get to know this other mom better before I let you go, or I agree. It's not fair to put it on the 15-year-old that's been responsible. And imagine this, you're 15-year-old and you have a 14-year-old or a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old or whatever, like a 14 and a 12, the last thing you want to do is go on spring break with your little annoying tween siblings.
Right.
And the other thing is, they offered to pay for her plane ticket and
Yep.
the resort.
And
So,
the daughter was willing to pay for the rest. So
right.
that's,
So,
she had a plan. She came to her mom and said, here's everything. Here's what I would like to do. That one right there would have been, this kid thought it out. I would have been super proud of my kid to come to me, and I would have had my questions. I would have said, okay, what are you going to do? XYZ. What are you going to do here or there? That is, that would have been the mom. That would have, that's the part where we're supposed to be teaching them the next steps of growing up. Like
right. And
she
letting
did a
go is
great
part of
job.
that, and letting them have adventures without you, although terrifying as it may be. This is part of next steps of adulting and becoming and having some independence. And if it truly is because you're concerned, and it's San Diego, right? Not like, an unsafe place.
Everywhere is unsafe. This is why I taught my kids. Everywhere is unsafe, regardless. And I say that in the sense of you need to be responsible and knowledgeable what's going on around you.
Anything can happen anywhere.
Yes, and
Listen,
that's
we
exactly what I
listen
have
to
taught my children.
Slaycation. we know
Right.
how it is.
So, and when she did make the comment about a bathing suit on the beach where she's not overseeing, your daughter's 15, my I've never been the one that my kids had to dress for comfortable to make other people comfortable. It's not their job to dress to make someone else comfortable. It is their job, my kid's job, to know how to handle if someone makes
Correct. I
them
agree. That
uncomfortable.
is a very good
That's
point,
how I've
because
handled that.
that's
So
going to happen everywhere, at any
exactly.
time. That could happen anytime.
And just because they could be fully dressed and be catcalled and be harassed. So it
Correct.
needs to be a situation like my kids, I've told
I've
my
been hit on in a turtleneck.
right. I have the conversations of it's now, do you risk ha- I've also had my kids have called me on it. I'm like, look, if you go out there and you're clubbing, we've actually had these conversations. And I was like, you wear what you want, but you can't control how everybody else reacts to you. So you need to be able to handle how they react to you.
Correct.
Period. It doesn't matter.
And right. And they could be dressed as slutty as they want to be, and that gives nobody a right to put a hand on your body. It
Absolutely. That's what I
in
say.
so
100%.
so I think the mom and the dad is, I don't know if he's putting it off on the mom, being like, um, my wife's concerned about her being in a bikini, la la la. But if she's given you no reason to not trust her, I do think she should be able to go. But at the end of the day, you are her parents, and I don't think you're the asshole if you say no. But I think you need to reflect on why you're saying no. If it's because of her safety, then okay, understood. It sucks for her
Well,
to
let me
have.
ask you this. If she was your friend, if she was me coming to you and saying, oh, saying all that, I don't want to send one of my kids because of these, what would you tell me, girl, you're being a helicopter, you're valid in your concerns, or what, how would you, because I'm going to tell you this. If you
I
came
would
to
say
me saying that, I would say, I think you're being an asshole to your kid because again, I
I
would
would say
point out
if
it was
it's because
you.
of your concerns, but even though you're uncomfortable, I would encourage you, if I was talking to you, I would
Right.
encourage you to, I would say, well, what is your main reservation? Is it because
Yeah.
you're just, you can't make her feel not valid on wanting to go with her friends. She's 15. She wants to get out. I mean, that's so natural and understanding that she wants to go on the vacation. If it's because you feel left behind and you don't
That's,
think you can
yeah.
have a good spring break, bad on you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're a full grown adult and you have to give your children the chance to fly. But if you
Absolutely.
get to know, if it's really, I would say, Cheryl, if it's really because you don't know the other mom or you're really genuinely concerned for her safety, then
Mhm.
make the effort. It sounds like it's enough time that she can cancel this other trip. Go ahead and make the effort to get to
Yes.
know the other parents and then let her have this experience. That's what I would say to you. That's what
And
I
I
would
would
encourage you.
love that because that's so what you said is ultimately is it's the mom having reservations. My other thought is, and I see this a lot, and as the oldest of five, I see this also, or I remember feeling this way. I want to know what, because this is the oldest daughter too, so this is the first time the parents are having to go through this phase of where
Right.
they're branching out on their own, which is tricky. We've all been there, or not all,
Yeah.
but if we have kids, we're going to be in there at that point. What kind of responsibility does she have at home? Do you trust her enough to watch your other kids? Do you trust her enough to go out? Does she have a part-time job? Is she going off on sports trips? Is she going
Yeah, and none of that was brought up, but they did say they have
right?
a trusting relationship with
Yeah.
their daughter. So to me, that means she's somewhat responsible. And so although it's a difficult situation, um, I think they should let her. I don't think the dad's definitely not the asshole, because I think he's just trying to navigate between what the daughter wants to do and what the mom's uncomfortable level
I would
is.
have never asked Daniel. I would,
I,
I would never have even asked her dad.
I know.
Which probably is the shit. That's the asshole part for me. Is I wouldn't have even had this discussion. Me and my kids would have figured it out, and then I would have told their dad what they were doing. But that's the asshole part for me. But
Well, I
yeah.
told Alex the other day, Nick told him to take the car and go get a slushie. He does not even have a permit, mind you. And I said, Alex, when you're thinking about doing something really questionable and your dad tells you an answer that you think is probably not what you should be doing, please come to me and ask me because I make the final decisions here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and he's like, Mom, I wouldn't have taken the car. I was like, okay, good job, buddy.
Let's see. Let me see what we got here. What's another one? And I'm gonna do this one because it kind of relates back to the episode we did a couple weeks ago. So, am I the asshole for not paying for an extra spot on spring break?
Not paying for an extra spot, like one of your kids wants to bring a friend.
I don't know. Let me read it to you because
All right.
it was very interesting because we had just had an episode we just talked about. That's one
I
of the
need more
things that came
information.
in. Exactly. Yeah. This is also great clickbait. Like I'm just giving y'all the things that suck me in. All right. 23 female, had a friend, Maddie, 23 female also, who was supposed to go with me and 17 other people on a trip in 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks
Yeah.
away.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of my friends booked the Airbnb and they split the cost 19 ways, which came out about 230 per person. Maddie and I got into an argument, and she put that in quotations, last week where she basically got extremely drunk, flipped shit on me, called me names, and disrespected me in my own home. A few other people witnessed it and told me that I had handled it well, just told her to leave. Okay, this goes on to what the fight was about. And I was sober the OP was sober at the moment. So fast forward, since then they haven't spoken, but her roommate told me, Maddie's roommate told me, the OP, that she no longer is going on the trip. I don't think she should go either. And 90% of the people that are my college friends and have heard about it also don't think they should go. But Maddie wants her money back. Now, mind you, they're 2 weeks away from this trip. While I can, and this is the OP, while I can see where she's coming from, I don't think everyone else should have to cover her since she and I got into an argument. But at the same time, I don't think I should have to cover it considering none of it was my fault. She truly did just drunkenly flip out, and when I didn't react, she started calling me names and whatnot. Basically, they got into a fight. The one thing I said that night was for her to get out. Regardless, they got into a fight. Okay. The trip is 2 weeks away. All of us have been saving up for it, and I don't know who should have to take the loss because of all of this. Would I be the asshole if I tell Maddie that I'm not going to pay her and that she brought this upon herself? And here's an edit. I want to clarify that I did not uninvite her. I heard from her roommate that Maddie was no longer going but wanted her money back. I was just trying to say that I agreed with her decision not to go. So I guess in the comments they were kind of saying. So here's the summary of it. Maddie and the OP got into a fight. They were scheduled to go on a trip for 19 people. It cost 230 per person. They're 2 weeks away. They got into a fight. The OP has heard that Maddie wants her money back. She doesn't want to go. And the OP's kind of feeling like, I don't want to pay for it, but this is my friend that I brought to the group. Maddie doesn't want to pay for it. Like, where are we at here?
Well, first I'm wondering what freaking Airbnb holds like 25 people.
For 230 per person. It doesn't say the location. So I'm with you there.
And for the record, I don't think it would cost anybody that much extra when you're splitting it by like 23 people. But that being said, I mean, it sounds like Maddie is the girl that got kicked out.
Hold on, let's answer the question. Am I the asshole for not paying for the extra spot on spring break? So is the OP the asshole for not paying for Maddie?
Initially, my thought is no, because you're all adults. it's 2 weeks away from now, 1 week. You know what I mean? Like we're getting down to
Right.
the wire between when the fight happened and she told her to get out of our house. And now it's understandable that if she's the only person that she knows in this group of 20 people, then she probably wouldn't want to go. But at that point, I don't think it's anybody else's responsibility to pay for her. I would say no, you're not the asshole, because it sounds like Maddie flipped out when she was drunk, which I mean, we've all been there kind of, and then maybe
We've all had
maybe
those
I can
moments.
relate more than I should be able to. But if I act like an asshole or whatever, if I've had too much to drink, typically I will follow up with I'm sorry. If it really was bad on me, I have no problem being like, I'm sorry, I felt some kind of way and I don't want to go on the trip, but no harm, no foul. I would, if I had
Right.
already, and it's $230. You can
Well,
like,
now mind you, they're 23, so they're probably college kids. So $230 on the scale is big
I mean,
for
I
them.
guess so. I guess so.
However, it's a
But
lesson learned. I agree with you. I do not think the OP is an asshole. I don't think she should have to be responsible for paying for anybody.
and my
I
other question is, why is Maddie in a room with somebody else, like a different roommate? She told her roommate she doesn't want to go.
I think they're college roommates is what they mean.
Okay.
Or I'm assuming they're home roommates or whatever, not their roommate on the trip.
Okay,
I
that was a bit
assumed.
confusing. That was
Okay.
a little bit confusing because I'm
It
like, if
wasn't
she's the
very
only person that
clear.
you brought into the group, why is she rooming with somebody else?
Yeah, no, I assumed that to mean where because it said the OP was they had the argument in the OP's home, and then Maddie and her roommate, so wherever they live is where the
Okay.
fight took. And there was some other things in there where they kind of got regardless, you're 2 weeks out on a trip, so
I
everything's
don't
already
think
been
you can
paid
get
in
your no
full.
if you book through anybody else, there's no way 2 weeks out you would get any kind of money back. There
Absolutely. Because even if you booked on your own a solo trip and you cancel unless you bought insurance, then no, you can't go. And by
and
the
you
way,
know those
guys,
college kids don't be buying travel protection.
right. But even if you are on a group trip and you're paying portion stuff, there are travel insurance policies out there for you to cover some things. Like I'm not an insurance salesman. I want disclaimer there. However,
Well,
if you're going
even
on a
if
group
you buy
trip, you
travel
gotta cover
protection,
yourself.
though, you have to follow through with the trip, and the travel protection is
Well,
provided
unless
for.
you do cancel for any reason. That's why I say you need to go and look at there are because maybe she didn't know, or if you are going on a group trip, it has to be a group policy. It absolutely doesn't have to be a group policy in every instance. So
Yeah, you could go
this is
back and try
a
to read the fine print, but usually when you read the fine print, it says you're screwed.
well,
um,
not if you get canceled for any reason. Like
no, but most college kids do not get canceled for any
I
reason.
know this is why I'm educating them. Like I don't care how big. By the way, I don't know if you know this. This is totally a tangent. But if you're going 100 miles from your home, you can get travel insurance because that even if you're just doing a day trip, you can get travel insurance that can potentially cover. Just check if you're traveling away. I think some
Cheryl's
policies.
travel agent CYA is kicking into full throttle. I
Hell
love it.
yeah, I am
I
like,
love
if
it,
I
Cheryl.
I am going to recommend all of my clients, no matter how, if they are going for a weekend drive to 3 hours away, I'm recommending travel insurance. You
I hear
don't know
you.
what happens. I'm always going to recommend cancel for any reason, which by the way, there are some fine prints in that. So
Read
I'm
the
not a
fine print,
licensed
people.
insurance salesperson. However, I will always recommend travel insurance.
Yes, and I always recommend to read the fine print. So,
Absolutely.
moving
Yes.
on from that, though,
All right. Read me your second one.
I do think that I really don't think she's the asshole, for the record. Okay, my next one is, am I the asshole for not inviting my friends on on a spring break trip?
Okay. I had one similar. All right. Good. Go ahead.
Well, do you want to
No,
put in
no,
a
you
bit?
do yours
Okay.
because yeah, I want to see if we got the same one. Wouldn't that be fun?
Okay. All right. So to start out, I'm a college kid in my first year of college. My classmates are all going off on crazy adventures for spring break. So I was thinking I would just go somewhere too. I got the days off from work and I was thinking about destinations in my price range. So I asked my friends, hey, where should I go for spring break? I'm thinking maybe New York or Massachusetts. And then when I told them, they went off on me and they started with a basic, oh, you didn't even invite us. And I thought it was all jokes, but it turns out it wasn't. They started saying, how we talked about going on a trip to New York a year ago and that it kind of sucks that you didn't even ask. Now my friends could never afford this trip. It's not super expensive, but it'd just be a couple days, but they literally just got a new home and they both owe me money. So they're in no position to go on vacations, in my opinion. That's why I never bothered asking them in the first place. I knew they couldn't say yes, even if they wanted to. I apologized to avoid the bigger issue, but I can't help but thinking that I should not have had to apologize for not inviting someone into a small getaway trip. But then again, I'm not quite sure because I have a hard time understanding social situations. I will add this because it wasn't clear, because people were kind of dogging her and saying, like, oh, that's pretty shitty of you to say, where should I go? But they're like, you said that, are these the same trips? Are these the same friends who are going on crazy adventures? And she said, no, they are not the same friends. These were two of my close friends, one being in a different college and the other not going to school at all. So I'm just going to add that in there.
Okay, so read me the question, the main question. Am I the asshole question again?
Am I an asshole for not inviting my friends on a spring break trip?
And because the way that the wrote this, and I have a hard time. I'm a visual, so when you read it to me, I have a harder time comprehending.
My understanding is she was planning to do her first solo trip.
But she had asked them for like feedback or things like that. Is that my understanding? Okay. And this was a trip that the friends supposedly said that they also would like to do. That this is something. Is that the vibe?
It sounds like I heard. It sounds like her other college friends all had these big plans to go on a big spring break trip.
So she was kind of having FOMO about not traveling,
right, and she didn't have the budget to do the crazy adventures, so she thought she would go up to New York or Massachusetts or something to do a long weekend solo trip, and she was asking her other group friends where she should go for her spring break trip.
The question was, am I an asshole for not inviting my friends? No, you're not required. You're not required to invite anybody. This is something that I taught my kids as well. Come on, guys. But that doesn't mean you're labeling your friends different levels. It's just you have different connections. Now, having a conversation with your friends about like my friends have gone on trips that I am super envious of, and like I'm having FOMO, but I would never shit on their parade because I want them to go out and have a great time. And I would absolutely give input without being like, well, you got my information, but you didn't invite me. Like I would never assume.
Well, and I get the FOMO factor, but like she said,
our friends are having FOMO.
Yeah, right. I get that on them, but also you have to factor in they both owe her money. So
yeah, I was gonna skim over that because that's a deeper
Yeah, but I know, but if you owe me money and you're pissed that I'm not asking you to come on a vacation with me, that's something a little shady too there. Like to me, I think that factors in.
But it also, I could see why others would say, okay, these people obviously, but I was going to say.
I still think solo travel is up and coming. It's out there. It's been out there. It's not up and coming, but it is also very trendy to do a solo trip. Right. We've talked about, maybe one day I'll do a solo trip. I doubt it.
We're hoping. Yeah, we're working on it. Even if I'm like behind you, just supervising,
just 2 blocks behind. Yeah. Just follow me and let me pretend I'm venturing
all the decisions, and I just be like, I'll buzz you or something with like the
right when I start to get off track.
I really do want you to take a solo, but no, I don't think the OP is an asshole for not inviting their friends. If the friends are feeling some way, like, hey, you know, we told you how exciting this was for us as well, then I would have turned back and said, okay, well then let's either plan a trip together or let me help you plan a trip of
and they had talked about going to New York, but I mean, we talk about having a compound. You can talk about things and it might not be in the works.
Well, and if you wait for everybody to be in the right spot, you miss out on life. So if she has the opportunity, or I'm sorry, I didn't hear who
I think it's a she.
They can choose. You can't wait for your circle, your people around you to be where you are and miss. You always say this, you're not promised tomorrow. So
correct
for today. And
Mhm.
they went off and did their thing. No, absolutely not an asshole. And I like that you brought this up because at least two of my next two, which I don't necessarily because I think we're kind of I have one more and then I think we might call it, but they were about people talking about inviting. Do I invite this person? They got mad because I didn't invite them, or I don't want to invite this person because of XYZ. Am I the asshole because I did not invite someone? That was the theme. And here's my thing to you guys. For the most part, I'd say 98% of the time, you are not the asshole if you choose not to invite someone to whatever you're doing. If it's out of, just organic, authentic, this is what fits right now. If you're being a petty bitch, you know you're being a petty bitch, period. You know it. Deep down, you know it.
Right.
But you are not required to invite your best friend on every trip you do. You do think you're going to Napa Valley in a couple
Oh,
months with your college besties. Not one time did I think, well, fuck, why didn't she invite me? You know what I thought? I cannot wait to hear. Of course, I'm going to have FOMO and I'm going to be following socials and be like, oh, she's having the best time. I'm so envious. I can be envious without being petty about you going or feeling like I should have been included. I think it's more you got to be excited for your friend to go. Like that's a real friend. I'm so excited. I love hearing about your planning. It's just
yeah,
interesting to me where people feel entitled to an invitation to someone else's experience. That's
correct.
if you were to flip it that way, are they entitled to your experience, an invitation to your experience? How does that work?
Well, yeah, I agree. And we will move on, but I agree. I don't think she is an asshole because of the scenario, because of the fact that she goes to college and she doesn't even go to college with them.
Mhm.
And you know, she originally said this is going to be a solo trip. Maybe the only thing I think she could give she could learn a little lesson from is if you think there's a possibility that somebody's going to be upset, don't ask them for advice to where to go. You can figure that out. If this is a solo trip, do your own research because I feel like it could be a little assy to say, hey, I'm going to this fabulous place. I know you guys don't have any plans because that might seem like so I maybe would have just kept my mouth shut, but I don't think she's an asshole at the end of the day for wanting to do a solo trip. I still don't.
Right. I agree with you, and I think it's all about reading the room and reading the people you're talking to,
But
making
she
sure.
said she thought it was a joke when they said, I'm so pissed. So she wasn't prepared for them to take it that way. I really do believe that based on what she said. She's like, I thought they were joking, but then they weren't. So,
Yeah,
so I guess it's a lesson learned too.
you're right. I don't think she's the asshole for not inviting them. So this next one, it involves spring break, but it's kind of got a slight twist. But I do think it's come up before in situations, so I wanted to get your input. Am I the asshole for letting my friend sleep in my roommate's bed while he was gone over spring break? Now, mind you, he had never said no.
Come again?
Exactly. Am I the asshole for letting my friends? So this guy has a roommate and the friend's out of town. The roommate is out of town and he has friends over. They end up crashing and sleeping in the roommate's bed while the roommate's out of town. Is he the asshole for letting someone sleep in someone else's bed?
Well, is so when he says the roommate, they're sharing that room, right?
Well, it could be an apartment. It doesn't necessarily mean a college dorm. You want me to read it? Oh, well, let me read the rest of it.
Yeah, because I don't have enough context clues here.
Well, basically, you gave permission for someone to sleep in someone else's bed while they were out of
Well,
town.
my first thing
Regardless of-
did I discuss to the roommate that there's a possibility that my friend is crashing in my bed?
So, in the title, this is the title. Am I the asshole for letting my friend sleep in roommate's bed while he was gone over spring break? He never said no. That's all that's in the title. So let me read the
Yeah,
rest of
I
it
need more information.
because it was very interesting. Pretty sure my roommate's an asshole, but I'm trying to get an unbiased view. I am a freshman in college, so you're correct. It's a dorm. As you can probably guess, I'm just not going to say where they attend, but well, 3 weeks ago was break and my family lives far away, so I decided to stay in town and work over break. This works out well as my girlfriend is from here and was also staying over break. Before my roommate left, we did a substantial cleaning of the dorm. We vacuumed, wiped all the dusting, sanitized and everything, washing our sheets and bedding. I thought it was great. I was going to get this nice clean room to myself and I don't have to be embarrassed when guests come over. So basically, my girlfriend's friend and significant other came over and we hung out at my dorm most of the time over the course of several nights. We got really drunk most of the nights, and since my roommate wasn't there, I gave the all clear for my girlfriend's significant others, I'm assuming that's the friend in the SO, to sleep in my roommate's bed. I had a roommate agreement with my roommate, and this wasn't mentioned in the contract, so all was good. Roommate came back and freaked out when he saw his sheets were not clean and his bed wasn't made when he left it. He first asked if he was robbed, and I said no, I let my girlfriend's friends sleep on it. He freaked out and said that was wrong. I firmly told him that he should have included it in the roommate agreement and it wasn't my problem. He got the RA involved and threw a fuss. The RA is saying I might have to move even though he's the one causing the fuss. For now, we are not talking. I tried to be reasonable and explain to him why he's wrong, but he won't communicate and ignores me. He's really immature like that. Am I the asshole?
Oh my God.
I
Yes.
did enjoy this one. And I enjoyed the comments on this one too.
He is the asshole. Absolutely. And if you have the audacity and you know those people were fucking in his bed,
that was my assumption as well.
and at the very least, fucking wash his sheets and make his bed, and he's never the wiser. But yes, you are a fucking asshole. And if it's a dorm, it's not like you're gonna put something batshit crazy like P.S. If I go out of town, don't let your friends fuck in my bed. Like, you shouldn't have to put that in the roommate clause. That should be a given. Like, that's a given. Nobody wants to come back to all creamy sheets that are not, you know what I mean? Like, no.
Yes.
No, I would be skeeved out too. He absolutely is the asshole. And the fact that he's still saying why he's not the asshole makes him more of an asshole. So you're a double fucking asshole.
Yes.
And you.
Yeah, what got me was he said the title. The title got me on this one because I like to read the title and make an assumption. I totally am judging and make an assumption, and then I like to know if I'm proven wrong by the content.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes you can't judge a book by its
one. Absolutely, but I like that challenge. It's like a mystery. I'm a detective, but anyway.
I'm a detective. Me too. I have a criminal justice.
I'll tell you, I'm wrong more than I'm right.
That just got me hot. That just got me heated.
I looked up because that was a lot to read. I couldn't paraphrase that because I wanted you to hear his voice, his tone. This was one I did.
This guy is clearly an asshole with a capital A.
I read this all the way through. I thought it was so funny. But what got me was when he said, "Am I the asshole for letting my friend sleep in roommate's bed while he was gone over spring break?" He never said no.
He never said no because he didn't know what you were doing.
Exactly. Mom. That was my thought. The second I read that, I was like, that is not a conversation.
He never said no.
So I will tell you the comments. I loved the comments. It was all about the sheets.
I know.
People couldn't get past the fact that, and when I reread this, I realized it was more than one night. It wasn't just.
It was multiple nights.
Yes.
Where they say they're just drunk and hooking up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes. I mean, you know that's happened. He didn't imply that or say that, but
yeah. But you went to college.
But my thought was the fact that that was all they could focus. Like, dude, the least you could have done was washed his fucking sheets.
I would have thrown him a fucking bone if he had washed the sheets, cleaned the bed, and it probably would not have even come up. The guy probably would not have even noticed. So I'm going to say no harm, no foul, but you're still fucking gross.
I mean, you're douchey if you hide it, but I understand it because that's more college behavior of, hey, sneak over here. We're going to wash the sheets. Because we do that at home. Like, remember when we were partying in high school? Everybody clean it. Don't let no one know. That's what I would do over spring break. Don't let my parents know if y'all were here.
Right, use some common sense and hygiene. Like, that's just nasty. That's just nasty. I'm judging the fuck out of that guy.
Yeah, he is totally the asshole, but
for sure. That is cut and clear. Is that
the tone? The tone was horrible, and that he was
that boy is entitled. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, it was funny. All right.
Well, so I mean, I think we're definitely over our time, but I do always enjoy Am I the Asshole? And there's a lot can happen in spring break. Clearly, sometimes some people's spring break goes better than others. And we've heard a lot of different scenarios. So we'd love your feedback as to, if you agree with us as to who the asshole is, or if you disagree, why. And we'd love to hear your feedback. So that'll wrap up this session. You guys have a great day.
Yeah. Bye, guys.